Chris, if you can make your way up to the stage, we'll save some time. But I appreciate everybody coming back. Again, there are some refreshments out in the hallway, so you can grab that and make your way back to the seat. We got a couple more sessions going. So our next afternoon panel this afternoon is going to provide some ideas, advice on finding employment in the crane industry, improving recruitment and retention. We've got three gentlemen on the stage with me. Mike Embry, who's 57. He's married. He's got 2 daughters and 2 grandchildren. He's been operating engineers for 32 plus years. He's been running cranes for over 35 years. Worked full-time at the local 181 apprenticeship and training program since 2011, and acquired CCO certs back when he had to prove 2,000 hours, didn't take practical tests, is what he wrote. He says he's passionate about his job because it's teaching skills that is life-changing for their members. We also have Russ Gallivan, who's the Director of Operations at the Colorado Crane Operator School in Frederick, Colorado. With more than 24 years of experience in the crane and rigging industry, Russ began his career under the hook and quickly advanced into leadership as a superintendent, bringing a deep well of practical, boots-on-the-ground expertise to every role he's held. And finally, we have Chris Smith, who's the Vice President of Service at Morrow Equipment. He's bringing over 40 years of experience in the crane industry. He oversees service operations in the company's training center. Since joining Morrow Equipment in 2008, Chris has held various roles, including managing the training center before assuming his current position. So I thank you, everybody, for joining us here today. I'm going to start with this basic question for you, just so you can give us a little bit more perspective. I purposefully, each of you on this panel comes at this subject from a little different perspective. Union, a training provider, and a private company. So kind of in terms of explaining what you do, as well as giving us a perspective, your perspective, please explain kind of in simple terms, if somebody was looking, to get into this as a career, like what is the process from your perspective, from each one of your different perspectives, what's the process of somebody who's, watching this or seeing a video on it and saying like, I'm interested in that as a, potential career path. What's the process going through you all, to be able to do that, the basic steps, I guess. We'll start with you, Mike.
Is this on?
You put it up, and I think it should be on.
Yes, through our program, the operating engineers, we have an apprenticeship program. I think there's like 98 different apprenticeship programs across the country for people that's interested in getting into the crane field. When we bring our apprentices in, we teach them, do you want to be the dirt hand? Do you want to be the crane hand? Are you going to be the mechanic? We got different fields for our operators to go into. But far as getting into the crane world, getting into the apprenticeship program and start out basic and just go up the ladder from there. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry with us.
Okay. And they go to their local, right, IUOE?
Yeah, to the IUOE, to the operators, yeah.
All right. Great. Russ?
Yeah, I think our perspective is very similar, but it differs slightly. We ultimately become a bridge, for someone who does want to get into industry, who does want to be able to go work for the employer. But when they go to the employer and they're brand new in the industry, they have zero knowledge. It's a lot of time where we get with them, right? They have zero knowledge, or they've been a carpenter, but they haven't been anything around a hoist or been anything on rigging. So we just come through there. We'll provide them that baseline training to be able to get the opportunity when they go with that employer or they go into the union. That way their knowledge level is already increased, which will inherently be able to fast track their career over time, as be able to go through each pathway. So we treat it as a bridge, and we can actually sometimes go a little more, that earlier knowledge, a deep knowledge, to understand why some of the rules and the regulations are actually there, that they may not get that information when they're out in the field actually doing the work from day one.
Your mic is good.
That's okay, don't worry. You turn good.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Anything else to add there, Russ?
No, we're
good. Okay. And Chris, your thoughts?
I think a lot is just desire to get in the industry. I think the industry's changed a lot from when I was a younger man, at least. You know, there was a lot of, I guess you could call them roadblocks. It seemed like it was hard to get in the industry, and you had to find that right opportunity, and you had to find somebody with a crane who wanted to let you play with the crane or the piece of equipment or something like that. And nowadays, I mean, all somebody's got to do is knock on my door, click on my email address, or go on my website and tell me they're interested in coming to work for me, and we can sit down, we can have a talk. And once we get to that discussion, I think one of the other ones, and maybe it's part of another topic, but I think one of the other ones is just realizing how many different opportunities there are in our industry. So many people just look at it being an operator. I want to be an operator. I want to be an operator. Well, there's so many paths, so many, all of us here, you know, started as operators, but I'm certain we've taken various paths to travel to end up at places in our career we never dreamed of.
And so talking about it, once you get somebody in the door, right, and you know, Russ, just to repeat what you said, since you were off a little bit, the mic was off, just but like you know, saying you were a bridge, you know, you can provide some opportunities for people to learn that are coming in brand new, and you know, as a training provider, you can provide them kind of a little bit more background and detail that may not get in other roles, just doing it right in the field. What kind of skills? So again, for all of you guys, you know, if somebody, again, that's not familiar, never had any time in a crane or anything like that, what kind of skills would you think are necessary to get started in the industry? And then how long do you think it takes to really become like a true veteran, highly skilled? So, you know, the difference between being in the beginning and what things would you say, you know, like that people are good at, that are people that become good in this industry, what kind of skills do they possess? Anybody can start.
I'll go ahead. I mean, I think when you really go look at it, you have to be humble. Understand you don't know it all right from the get-go, and you gotta have the willingness to learn. To me, that's the first skill, and that's whenever when it comes into one of our programs, we always tell them you gotta have the willingness to learn, the willingness to be able to fight through some of the frustrations, because ultimately you're learning a new skill set, and just as we learned earlier, it takes time to actually learn that new skill set. And then the flip side of it too, because we work with a lot of companies that actually send their individuals to our facility to help to get them to hone, you know, fine tune some of their skills to be able to get ready for the exams. So we work with them, but the humbleness to be able to understand that they don't know it all. You know, they have to be able to recognize a step back that there's a handful of things that they actually need to learn. And then you talk about being highly skilled. I think that's just like ever changing, or it's ever pursuing it, for lack of better terms. It's, to me, I don't think anyone ever truly gets to that point, because there's always ways to be able to improve.
Chris, anything to add?
Yeah, you know, when it comes to some of the things he's talking about, and I think we're kind of in the same boat, even though I'm coming from private industry, you know, our company has made a huge investment in training and doing training at our place. And that's one of the keys, is that when I look for somebody and they walk in my door and it's desire and interest, I'm repeating desire again, but that interest, and then, you know, some basic mechanical hands-on skill sets. You know, recruiting, when I first started in the position I'm at now, 10 years ago, recruiting-wise, we were always looking for those people that had crane experience. And that has changed a lot now. Now I'm looking for somebody that typically has mechanical aptitude and experience, a desire to work on things. Maybe they work on their own car on the weekends or something like that. And I can take a raw talent like that and run them through our internal training programs, all of the available training that's available out there. I know many companies in this room that have invested hundreds, if not millions of dollars in higher level training centers to take employees just like that and make those employees what they need them to be. And that's really the key, just finding somebody that's willing to be able to learn, want to participate, and move forward and not get ahead of themselves. I find people, they're like, you know, in 1 year, 2 year, they tell me, I want your job. I'm like, well, it took me a while to get here. And the key to that whole thing is that they got to move through progressively. They got to learn their skills. And then when it comes to your question of how many years do I think it takes for a person to get, well, I see typically in my industry, 2 years is the mark to where they've really acquired that basic skill set that now I can feel really confident in putting them out in the field. 5 years, they start to get, to where they've got a really great skill set. That 10-year point, you can have a lot of confidence in them, but at that 10-year point, there's a whole new set of skills to learn because there's all different things in the industry to learn. So, and I'll give you a quick story. Ray and them guys were up here talking, and I was on a job here not too long ago, and we had a crane there, and the crane operator didn't show up, and it was a 250-ton all-terrain crane. I'm like, I'll get up in that damn thing and run it. And then I realized I had absolutely no idea how to extend the boom in that thing, set the computer in that thing, and it's like, I got a good skill set, but I don't have that skill set. I got some learning to do.
Mike, anything to add?
Yeah, when it goes with the people getting into this industry, there's so many avenues, like these guys were saying, but it's ever evolving. There's so much training that's involved. So we start with our apprentices or journeymen alike, and everybody learns at a different pace. Everybody learns at at a different length of time. And good thing about through the operators, we've got our big training center down Crosby, Texas. We've always got the updated cranes. We've got 95 different training centers across the country. So there's always places, there's always avenues for a operator to get the training that they need. But everybody learns at a different pace.
Nice. Appreciate that. So I'm going to combine a couple of questions here, which is to think, again, we got a lot of people online, people that will probably see this too, that are thinking about a career here in this industry that we want to encourage. But to be fair, you guys want to talk a little bit. You've had a lot of experience in the industry yourselves. Just both what the best things are about it, about being just take operator, for simplicity's sake. Best things about it, but then also things to consider that are maybe, we'll call them realistic things related to the job, or we don't want to call them negatives, but things just to know about this kind of job, right? It's you're not sitting at a desk, which is a positive or negative depending on what you're looking at, but that kind of stuff. Just from your experience, just if somebody's thinking about it, what are the positives and the benefits of a career in this industry, and some of the maybe things to just be aware of?
Well, that falls down to the individuals again. I mean, a person, do they want to sit at a desk, or we try to put it like, we're playing with Tonka toys, but they're a whole lot bigger Tonka toys in today's world. But it's the challenge is what a lot of our operators, they like that challenge. They like that, can I do this? Can I do that? And it is challenging, and it just takes a lot of determination and stuff to make it through. We've had so many that went down the Cranes road, and it just wasn't for them. So everyone's different.
Yeah, I think as you go down the highway, right, you'll be able to go down and you point down, it's like, built that one. Oh, I was on that one too. And we put that up. And then if you're going to travel down with your buddies, your friends, hey, do you remember that when this happened here and then this happened there? And when you're able to go back and you sit through that over a long time, you actually able to go sit back in your chair, in your seat, whatever, and understand that you had some sort of impact through one way or the other. And whether it be the impact of actually, building America, or on the flip side of it, of just building that camaraderie with a bunch of different people over different walks of life and do a lot of different things. And, if you had told me, 24, 25 years ago, whatever it's been, that I'd actually be, on this stage or running a school, whatever, I would have laughed at you. I said, it's not going to happen. There's just no way. But one pathway can totally lead into another pathway, and then, everyone's path is slightly a little different, but, it's a very rewarding career when it all boils down to it.
Any tough things?
I mean, I think there's all tough. It's all relative, right? Everything's tough. It's all how you want to take it, I think the other side of it too, you got to have, you got to let stuff roll off your shoulders. Don't take it personal, because it's not. It's work.
Chris?
I would say variety. The job switches so fast from day to day. That's a double-edged sword. Depending on what type of job you work and where you're working at, you could be working for a rental crane company in a taxi fleet, and you might be on 2 or 3 different job sites in a day. You might be working for a large contractor, traveling all over the country, working shutdowns. There's just so many different things and opportunities to go places, meet people, work with different teams, learn how to work with different people, and learn your craft. I think the biggest challenge of the industry, or the job, I guess I should say, is it's very fluid. You got to be ready to pivot at a moment's notice. You think you're going this way today, and all of a sudden you're going that way. And in fact, I find that some of the younger people that come to work for us sometimes get a little frustrated with that. They're like, we want to know what we're doing every day, day in, day out, and this is coming next. And you know, you think you might even get that. Like for us, a lot of our jobs are working in our overhaul facilities, overhauling our crane. And it's like, okay, we're going to overhaul this crane today. We're going to get it ready to send out, until the minute my manager walks out and says, stop working on that crane because we got to work on that crane because that contract canceled and that customer wants that crane next week. So it's that constant moving, fluid, moving target.
Excellent. So just last couple minutes here, I just wanted to switch gears a little bit and talk about the recruitment and retention part of it. So again, having helped a lot of people get started in the industry, you know, in this particular, whether it's again a place, is there any particular place or school level or type of work or website or you know, that you found effective for finding good candidates? Like where do the best people that you find or people that have been, again, that seem to fit right in this, where do you find those kind of people? Again, is it dependent on the age or education or location or experience? Like what kind of things would you guys say?
Well, in our world, our apprenticeship program takes applications year round. But in today's world, the way social medias and stuff is, that's a lot of them's first questions. I want to be a crane operator. You know, well, they have to go through that. They have to go through the process. They have to become a member, and then once they become a member, we can get them to that point, you know, as best as we can. But we have social media. You know, we do high schools. We do career fairs. We don't. Well, in our world, we're not looking for just crane operators. We're looking for operating engineers. So yeah, we go above and beyond everywhere we can.
Gotcha. Russ?
This is one of the fundamental differences there. When we'll get people, I'll say they're flipping burgers one day, and then all of a sudden they do want to become a crane operator the next day. And so that's where ultimately, as I said earlier, that's where we're that bridge. We're like, all right, well, let's introduce you to the industry. You know, let's get you started. Let's give you that baseline education. So, you know, after that time frame through, as we continue to, you know, we work with employers and, you know, and say, hey, Russ, who do you have, right? We have this job come up, who do you have, where they can be. That's where we'll be able to work with them and just tell the employer, hey, we have this individual, they completed this program, this is, you know, this is where they're at, they obtained these certifications. But that's also the relationships that we built because they understand what our programs are. And they understand pretty much the baseline, what each individual is, but with all that, we will coach them up and tell them what to be able to expect through the entire process. But I think the other side of it is we still try to continue to be that resource after, you know, once they leave one of our programs, and they be able to continue to ask questions, be able to, hey, Russ, I have this coming up or what going on. So we can continue just to, I guess should be a, you know, a shoulder that they can lean on in terms of, hey, can you help me work through this? Someone's asking this question. And lastly, is just be honest. You know, you don't have someone come in as an employer and just tell you, hey, I know all this and all that. It's like, you still tell somebody you're green, you know, right from the get-go, and just tell them where you're at. And then most people will be more receptive to that and be able to continue on with your career.
We've kind of changed tracks on recruiting over the last couple of years. We did not traditionally do job fairs and stuff at high school level. We were doing them at like community college, technical colleges and above. But we've kind of shifted gears on that. I got 4 job fairs we're doing just this month, and every single one of them's at a high school. And we're looking at recruiting kids straight out of high school, and I think one of the other, Brian or somebody up on the stage had mentioned it, you know, the change in the culture to where it's not college, college, college all the time. We have there in our corporate office, we have a career technical education center, and we've actually done things like we'll bring them in, put them through a rigging training program as part of their schooling for for what they're trying to achieve in construction technologies. And then we'll look at them and recruit them. We'll go to the job fairs. And again, try to change the mindset that it's not just an operator position. You know, for me, in fact, I'm really not looking for that many operators. I'm looking more for technicians, mechanics, electricians, people like that to work on my type of cranes. And, you know, we've even expanded that. I was talking to my HR manager this last week, and it's like, man, we realized we were missing the mark in one of the last job fairs we did, because we have accounting positions, we have engineering positions, we have, you know, so many different positions in our company besides just being a mechanic or an operator. So we've really tried to kind of expand to fulfill, you know, IT roles and everything within our company.
Great. And so my last question before seeing if there's any questions out there, the kind of a different perspective, but kind of your thoughts maybe personally and both as from your positions with your companies and organizations. You know, so after somebody gets the training, is getting a job, and maybe they've worked for the job for a while, to the point of, you know, things that keep people motivated, keep people wanting to stay in the industry, right? You know, there's so I was going to say examples of money or benefits or career advancements, you know, support. You mentioned, Russ, earlier, kind of the overall, like, hey, you're building your community, you're doing something. You know, what kind of things do you think, I mean, I guess there's all those things, but like what kind of things do you think are really the biggest things that keep people engaged in things that companies or organizations can be doing to get people interested in staying in this industry?
Right. Well, the individual's all different, but when you can pay an individual a good living wage, they got good benefits. They're seeing their community grow. You know, some of them might want to travel the country and do the crane work and stuff, but just giving them incentives. You know, most people wants to just keep striving for more. You know, I mean, that's what I would do.
Great. Russ?
I think it really does boil down to the individual. I mean, you're intrinsically motivated or externally motivated, and ultimately what finds you. But personally, my personal belief on my soapbox is if you're always externally motivated, eventually you're going to run out of things, you know, to be able to continue to chase. So being intrinsically motivated on why you get to do, so how do you become better at what you do? And then once you reach a certain level, how do you actually share that information down to the next generation? Because ultimately, you know, early on in my career, I was lucky enough to figure out the more I teach, the more I educate, the ultimate made my job easier, right, on the job. And that was my true motivation. It's like, how much am I going to teach to make my job easier? And then I guess here I go. I'm just running a crane school. So but I think it really boils down to the individual.
Money. But that's changed a lot. I mean, it used to be money in that it used to be you'd see guys move for $1 here, $1 there. Now, when you're talking money with an individual, especially when I talk to younger people that come in, you make them realize that, listen, this is a career, this is a job where you make a good living wage. You could make a 6-figure wage real easy in this industry nowadays, between starting wages, overtime, not counting the benefits that go with that. And then as they start to pay attention to the other things that get involved with it, you know, most all companies now, they have health benefits program, they have vacation plans. You get beyond the basic dollar and get to everything else that goes with it. Health insurance to take care of your family, 401k retirement plans, pension plans, and all that stuff. And especially when I start seeing that from the burger flipper you were talking about, who was just getting $17, $18 an hour, and that was the best they were ever going to get. And they realized, I can really make a life for myself and take care of me and take care of my family. And I think they're recognizing that more and more, and that's something we try to impress to them more and more.
Yeah, it's a great point. I think we've seen that from some of the research we've done too about younger generations, what's really motivating them. Money obviously motivates pretty much everybody, but there is some other things too that you can talk about. Any questions from the audience before we got one. Adrian?
It's going to be our only question right there.
It's on. Hello. There you go. Okay, so this question would be more for, I'm just sitting here thinking about the people who's watching online or who's going to be watching this video later, right? And it sounds great. Everything, how to get into it, what the benefits are. But I think a lot of people are going to have a question is, how much is it going to cost me to get into that school or to get into that apprenticeship program? Or are there any other things I need? Do I need a CDL Class A license to drive that crane? So what are kind of the prereqs that are required to get into the industry?
In the operators, we like to call it a earn while you learn kind of thing. You get into the apprenticeship program. It doesn't cost, once you become a member, none of this costs a person anything. Whether it's going for their CDLs, going for their CCOs, going for whatever, skill they want. So it's a dedicated apprenticeship program, and it don't cost them a penny. They're all over the United States and Canada.
All right. You guys have anything to add?
I would say, we're similar. I mean, if you come to me and you show a desire, we have the things and we're going to work you in that direction you need. But if there's somebody that wants to get a step up or a leg up or something like that and make themselves more appealing to employers, they need to pay attention to the things that are available out there. Not SCRF Foundation. They constantly have scholarships open. I constantly have a scholarship with them for my basic safety program and for an NCCCO tower crane operator, fully funded. We pay the travel expenses and everything, and all they have to do is apply for that. So if they research that kind of stuff, they can find there's a lot of it out there to kind of give themselves a step up before they come through the door.
And shameless plug, the NCCCO Foundation also has scholarships available for training through training providers, accredited training providers that we're starting to do now too. So there's opportunities to do that as well.
No, that's what I was definitely mentioned on that, and just piggyback. It's every little area, the part of the country that's going to cost you different things potentially, and tell everyone just definitely do their research. I mean, the more skill set you have when you go into the employer, into the union, it's going to help you. If you want to go, get your CDL first and be able to go down that pathway, that's great. But if you're going about there and you go to research, research facility, research training schools, say, hey, I understand it may cost me a little bit extra money to be able to get started at, as opposed with the union or the employer, but how else can you be able to help, in that respect? I mean, there's always no guaranteed job placement, but hey, how else can we be able to help us be able to get started, and who do you know type situations? So it'll be dependent upon different parts of the country.
All right, well, we're running a little bit behind, so I wanted to thank our panel, and then we'll go on to the next speakers. So thank you very much, gentlemen.